auxiliary. So I encourage you to support the development of these programs in your district. We'll be getting to two of those shortly. So let me introduce our AuxScout leadership here. Well, first of all, he's a deputy director of the S Directorate, which does both AuxScout and AUP, Auxiliary University Program. Jacob Thayer is both a Gold Side legal officer with a rank of lieutenant, and he's deputy director on our side. So a true study of silver and gold. Bruce Johnson here is the program coordinator for AuxScout. And joining us today is pardon me, is that's what I was about to say. Jacob Marks is joining us as well, and he's also JG, right? Yep. Thank you. On the active duty side, we shouldn't say gold side anymore. We're supposed to say active duty side. So here we go. All right, so without fumbling this further, I will hand the mic over to Mr. Lieutenant Thayer, whatever you prefer, and let's get going here.
Awesome. I'm sorry, sir. Where do you work at? So I'm here from Coast Guard headquarters, and I'm here to help. And then Lieutenant Junior Grade Marks is an intelligence officer at Sector Delaware Bay over in Philadelphia. So we're excited to be here. And then Mr. Johnson is over in Annapolis in 5th Southern. And I think we're all 5th Southern auxiliarists too. So good to see you, sir. I'm going to jump off the stage here for a second. So first thing I'm going to ask is, I don't know how well y'all three can see the slideshow. We're going to be putting on some slides, so it might be, if y'all are good over there, that works for us. Otherwise, we'd say, you know, happy to shift. It's not too many of us this afternoon. I understand. Appreciate everybody's flexibility this morning. Semper Gumby. We're excited to have you here. Don't worry, there's no chance that we're going to run over and go into the dinner hour, even with the late start. So we're excited to be here and talk today. So as was mentioned, my name's Jacob Thayer. I get the pleasure of working with both Bruce Johnson and Jacob Marks and the fabulous teams for youth programs, or Sea Scouts, and also AUP, and I'm an AUP alum myself. We're going to talk about both programs, start with AuxScout and then move into AUP. To get things started, who here has heard of AuxScout before? All right, that's good. What do you know about AuxScout? You got a guy? You? Very good. He's training, working hard, getting people trained. Okay, awesome. It's a great recruiting tool. It's a great educational tool. You can funnel people from the active duty and to the auxiliary. It gets their parents and their families involved. Gives them a career path into the Coast Guard, potentially the academy or enlisting. Would you like to give this presentation, sir? You seem well versed. Hey, we appreciate it. Yeah, great recruiting tool, great way to get the family engaged. Yes, sir.
We have several ships in the 8 coastal. We've got several in progress. But if you're not involved with those ships, and that, there's still a lot of misinformation out there about.
For those of you here without microphones, and that's everybody.
Yeah.
Jacob, speak up. The acoustics in this room are pretty rough.
And I'll walk around with this. I appreciate that.
You didn't hear me? You're going to have to speak up. I'm going to fix him.
Yeah. This will be a room full of command presence. So still a lot of misinformation out there. We hope to clear that some of the day and some today, and then use y'all to continue clearing that up. Any other thoughts about AuxScout before we jump into things? All right. Actually, you had a perfect segue comment, Commodore. What, if anything, are people particularly interested in about AuxScout? What would you like to have cleared up today? We want to make sure we're addressing any questions you have. Yes, sir.
Current status given COVID in terms of where we sit and how we can move forward.
Okay. We'll make sure we touch on that. That's great. What else?
Understanding the training they've got to have to work at any scout
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, I appreciate that. We'll touch on that too. What else? And I'm not ignoring what's being said. I've got a great scribe up here. That's what junior grades are for. Yeah. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Any other items that people would specifically like addressed today? All right. Well, with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Johnson. I'm sure many of you know Bruce. I got to say, I have gotten to know him over the past year and a half or so. He's an outstanding leader. He's been in the auxiliary for 22 years almost. He's been involved with Sea Scouts about double that. He looks fantastically young to me, but he is a wealth of knowledge, truly an outstanding leader. And Bruce, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks. Is this on? Yes, I think it is. Excellent. All right. I'm going to try to read my notes from this far away. Again, my name is Bruce Johnson, and I'm the Chief of the Auxiliaries National Youth Programs Division. This afternoon, we're going to talk about Sea Scouts, the Coast Guard's Auxiliaries official youth program. We're going to review why it's important to the auxiliaries' future that local units support our efforts to work with more younger people. And we'll talk about several different ways to get involved. And I'll be taking your questions. And thank you for the questions you've submitted. I'm sure I will get reminded about that down the road. It's the big green button, I guess. There we go. Okay. So this is a strange experience for me. The last 2 years I've been doing between 3 and 5 workshops a month over Zoom, and to have a live audience, and thank you very much for showing up. I know there were other more exciting places for you to be this afternoon, but we'll try to make this worth your while. Oh, by the way, before I forget, we have envelopes for each of you. We put the envelopes where your table tent is, so if you haven't picked it up already, please plan on picking it up. So we give extra credit for those who participate in the audience participation part of this. What is the Coast Guard Auxiliary's top mission? What is the most important thing for us to be doing? RBS, what else? I know I said the top mission, but we often talk about something else in the same. Well, yes, but here's. Here, our RBS we've already talked about. We hear an awful lot about needing to provide Coast Guard mission support. And I totally agree with both of these things, but I suspect that, well, I'll get to a third top mission that we don't talk about, but we really are going to over the next few minutes. What do you think attracts people to the auxiliary? Why do you think they're interested in being with us? To serve. Okay, what else?
The money in the compensation package.
There you go. I'm still looking for that, but please let me know how to get in on that. Okay, what else? To learn. Service to the community. Boating safety. What else? Okay, I'm going to offer a few ideas and see whether you agree with them. Attending business meetings. How many here just love to go to Coast Guard Auxiliary business meetings?
Like this one?
Well, I would venture to say this is the absolute, going to business meetings is the absolute least favorite thing for people, though you would never know it from the way some people run meetings. Just doing business at flotilla meetings or division meetings, that's death on wheels. Do you think people join the auxiliary because they want to teach boating safety? A few do, but not many. How about to staff public affairs booths? No, I doubt that many people thought about doing that. Patrols and uniforms. Unfortunately, I think this is a big motivator for an awful lot of people. You know, they want to how to say this without making it sound really bad. They want to be Coast Guard, and they think that by putting on the uniform, they are Coast Guard. And I don't know about your flotilla, but we have a couple of gentlemen in our flotilla who are on the high side of 350 pounds, and maybe they don't look all that great in a Coast Guard uniform. Social, well, this is certainly a good reason to be involved with us, and to be a part of Team Coast Guard is certainly very important. So what makes people decide they want to join the auxiliary? They're asked. Okay, that's a really good one. What else? Patriotism, that's a good reason. Volunteerism. I'm sorry, community service? Yeah, that's very good. My wife, in addition to being a DSO for AuxScout, is one of the best human resources people in our district. And I asked her these questions, and this question, and here's what she hears most often. They want to help other boaters. They want to give back. They like boating. They love the water. This next one really scares me. They want to learn how to boat. And I would venture to say the Coast Guard Auxiliary is not the best place to learn how to boat. The Power Squadron might be a better choice for that. Well, that's true. Did you hear the Commodore's comment? There's boating, and then there's the Coast Guard's way of boating. I've been a boater since I was about 8, and when I joined the auxiliary, I had to learn a whole different approach to boating. And it's not that it's better, but it is how the Coast Guard does it. And when you wear the blue tuxedo, you do things the Coast Guard's way. Let's see, family member is a coastie, learn about boating safety, want to wear the uniform. Okay, so these are all reasons why people join the auxiliary. What's the typical description of an average new auxiliarist in your experience? How would you describe them? 35 to 50. Oh, that's marvelous. D7 is mostly populated by 35 to 50-year-olds?
No, we're mostly populated by 50 to 90-year-olds.
Average 45.
Okay, that's really good. If I had to bet, that's atypical. I picked this, sorry?
60-ish.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have a high percentage of retirees, and by and large, we're a little bit more affluent than the normal. And we are mostly white, mostly male, mostly 65 and over. And we're not unique in that regard, but let's be honest with ourselves. That's what our organization looks like. And I'm closing in on my 69th birthday now, so I'm beginning to really feel those years. Let me ask you a question that should be a little telling. How many districts here have as many members today as they did 5 years ago? I want to see a show of hands.
Yeah, we kind of covered that this morning.
Yeah. And Jacob is going to mention an answer to that in his next transition. But this is a prevailing problem throughout the auxiliary. When I joined in 2000, I think the auxiliary's membership was somewhere around 39,000, 40,000, and we're now down to 22,000. And I don't know if it's dawned on any of you, it certainly has on me, that unless we do something about that, we're not going to be around for all that much longer. And the time to do something about that is not tomorrow, it is today.
10 years ago.
Well, that's right, but we can't fix 10 years ago, but we can fix today. So, how have we been trying to recruit members? What has been our strategy? Boating safety classes, what else? Public affairs events, what else? Right, schools, VE, doing vessel safety checks is another way. That's how I got recruited, incidentally, was a couple of auxiliaries came out to do vessel safety checks on the boats that my Sea Scout ship operated. Little did I realize that one of the two of them was one of the most tenacious HR people I've ever run into, and she would not take no for an answer. Right, right. So let me just run down a few of the ideas that I set down. Rely on people finding us on the web. None of these are wrong answers, but they are only a piece of the puzzle. Rely on people talking with us at PA booths. Rely on people hearing about us in the news or in social media. That's sort of an iffy thing. Actually, all of these are. Rely on people finding out about us when they take boating safety classes or getting a vessel safety check. Unfortunately, these techniques aren't doing it for us. They're not attracting enough people for us to replace who we lose because people are aging out or losing interest or whatever. And we are, unfortunately, attracting the same pool of people. We are attracting people who look like us, and let's face it, ain't none of us as able to do stuff as we were when we were younger. And what's more, we need to be attracting younger people because they can do stuff that we can't do. Look at the average age of an auxiliarist on a safety patrol versus the average age of a boat crew at your local small boat station. What's their average age? 19, 20? What's our average age? 70 maybe? You think there may be some things that the coasties can do that we can't just because they're younger? Well, we can do something about that. The key is to talk to people outside of our current demographic, and that means we need to be working with youth and their parents, all of whom are younger than the average auxiliarist. And we need to offer something to potential members that they want and need in their terms. We can only recruit, if we only recruit people like us, the auxiliary is going to die, and that's just a fact. We need to make younger people feel welcome, that they can be a part of us. So, obviously there is a punchline to this, which is that the good news is we have such an opportunity, and that is to work with the Sea Scouts. The Sea Scouts, we have had a signed MOA with the Boy Scouts of America since 2018. Actually, we've had one since 2009 when we started working with the Sea Scouts, and then we broadened it in 2018 and made the Sea Scouts our official youth program. And I want to talk for a minute about how this is going to benefit a flotilla or a division that decides that they want to invest in Sea Scouts. So here we go. I'm going to play a video for you. Okay, we don't have the sound. Well, what you're hearing is that Sea Scouting is a lot of fun, and these teenagers are really enjoying the program. Hopefully this gentleman will get this sorted out in time for the next video, which will be in a few slides. So let me just move on to the message I have here. Sea Scouts are the oldest older youth program that the Boy Scouts of America has. It was started in 1912, and it is for young people ages 14 to 20, both genders. Okay, that wasn't the music that was on that. It promotes citizenship and The public affairs people at the Boy Scouts of America picked the music. It's not going to be that jazzy. Sea Scouts promotes better citizenship and improved boating skills through teaching boating safety and social events. And it also involves STEM education, leadership, community service, and life skills. And frankly, the STEM education piece of this was a really important component in the eyes of the Coast Guard. They wanted us to be encouraging young people to get involved in STEM so that they would be potentially better prepared to go into the Coast Guard when the time comes. So do we have sound now on this? We're going to find out in a moment, aren't we? You think?
Worst case, I can play it through my computer and pick it up on the hotline.
Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. Okay, they don't have it, but
The Boy Scouts of America's Sea Scout program is now the official youth program of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, the Coast Guard's uniform volunteer component.
Forging new leaders in service to others, safe and responsible.
who is that masked man?
These are the noble objectives of this great alliance between two of the most widely recognized responsible seamanship organizations in the world.
We've come together to share details about this alliance because we consider the outcomes vital for our country, for safe and responsible boating, and for the future of the Sea Scouts and the Auxiliary.
We ask our leadership and all our members to collaborate and make this program successful.
The current National
Here are just a
Commodore of
few
the
of the
Sea
many
Scouts
benefits
is
the
also a
Alliance
Coast Guard
offers us.
auxiliary.
Sea Scouts, you will benefit from augmented Coast Guard auxiliary seamanship, STEM, leadership, and vocational training. You and your leaders can participate in Coast Guard auxiliary shoreside and underway training and activities, introducing you to the exciting world of the United States Coast Guard. You'll also have full access to the Coast Guard auxiliary seamanship, vocational, and leadership development programs. And Sea Scouts at least 14 years old are welcome to apply for auxiliary membership. Auxiliary flotillas can charter Sea Scout ships or units, creating a natural pathway from Sea Scouts to auxiliary membership or enlistment in the Coast Guard. Even Sea Scout ships chartered to other groups can be supported by local auxiliary flotillas. Auxiliarists and Sea Scouts, you will serve side by side, blending experience, youth, leadership, STEM training, and potential. Sea Scouts may even find their career path in the Coast Guard or maritime industry. Together, our organizations will learn, grow, and improve boating safety throughout the nation, as we ourselves grow and enhance our seamanship and leadership skills. You'll hear much more in the coming months. We hope you're as excited as we are about this dynamic program that creates stronger leaders and superior seamanship today and tomorrow. Please watch for details as they emerge from your flotilla and ship leaders, and help us forge this exciting alliance that ensures excellence, fun, and safety on U.S. waterways, now and into the future.
Thanks, Jacob. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. Okay, so what do we need to do to get started? Because really that's what you need to know here. The MOA in 2018 mandates a number of changes for how we work with the Sea Scouts. These changes are codified in the AuxScout SOP and are not incorporated yet in the auxiliary manual. So some of the things that we're doing are not reflected in AuxMan. Fear not, it's in the SOP, and that is very specific about, how we are supposed to work with the Scouts. The really important changes that are involved, auxiliary flotillas and divisions can charter Sea Scout units, which are called ships, but they aren't allowed to charter Scout troops or Cub packs. So this question has come up several times. A local Scout troop will want to have the auxiliary charter their troop. We can certainly provide public education and other support to them, but we cannot be the chartered organization. This was a decision that the Coast Guard made that this would be acceptable. Sea Scouts who are at least 14 years old can join the auxiliary. And as you know, for anybody who isn't a Sea Scout, they have to be at least 17 years old. The SOP spells out what 14-year-old Sea Scout auxiliaries can do and what they can't do. They can do most of what anybody else can do, but there are certain rules that they have to follow. And it's important if you have Sea Scouts who are under 17, who are auxiliaries, that you read the SOP so that you understand what is possible.
Do they have to follow the same COVID restrictions and be vaccinated also?
Yes, this was a question I wasn't planning on talking about here, but why not? Okay, any auxiliarist, regardless of age, has to follow the auxiliary rules for COVID restrictions. What's more, if you are doing things with a scout group, for example, we put on a safety at sea event at Curtis Bay Coast Guard Yard last fall. We had to also observe the local COVID rules that Baltimore Area Council had established. And as it happens, the Scout rules were more stringent than the Coast Guard rules were. So the Coast Guard Yard was perfectly happy to just go with the Scout rules because it addressed all of their concerns. Okay, so did that answer that question? That's a really good one. Let's see. Of course, flotillas are encouraged to provide public education, training, vessel exams, and all of the good stuff that we do for anybody else. But Sea Scouts and adult leaders who join the auxiliary have full access to all of the training that the rest of us have. So there is an incentive to want to not just work with us, but to become a part of us. I'll tell you, one of the things that I've been noticing among some of the Sea Scouts who are joining the auxiliary is one of the reasons they're joining the auxiliary is it looks really good on a college application. You know, they can say they've had a couple of years of service to the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and hey, we'll take whatever time they have as a teenager. Some of them will continue to be active through college, some of them won't, but they'll come back later. The skipper of our auxiliary-sponsored Sea Scout ship in Washington, D.C. was a very active auxiliarist in his teens and 20s, and then life happened and he dropped away from it. But now that his Sea Scout ship is sponsored by Division 25 of 5th Southern, he's back active and helping his local flotilla. And he has recruited, I think, 8 members of his ship to join the auxiliary. That's real payoff, folks. They're getting membership out of this. That wasn't the primary reason why we did this, but that's a reason why you should keep in the back of your head that it's just not a one-way street, that we're giving to them and we're getting nothing in return. Of course, auxiliaries instruct Sea Scouts in a wide range of seamanship topics, and we have information about the specifics of that on our wiki, AuxB Wiki, and your handouts have a lot of web links that will take you to where all of this information is. Let's see, I'll just skip over that. Oh, that's what I was just talking about. All right. Joint public affairs activities. I think this is a great photograph. Anybody recognize the gentleman in the blue shirt, the light blue shirt? That's Rear Admiral Smith, who at the time was the district commander of D5, and he was a big believer in the AuxScout program. These young people are members of Ship 16 in Portsmouth, Virginia. The year that this photograph was taken, they were the national flagship. Their ship committee chair and 2 or 3 of their ship committee members are retired Coast Guard officers. So for some reason, they have a strong Coast Guard bent to them, even though they're not actually sponsored by the auxiliary. And actually, their ship committee chair is responsible for overseeing the Eagle Summer Cruise program. And the other gentleman I was talking about is coordinating the AIM Week competition so that Sea Scouts are participating with AIM Week at the Academy. So, chartering Sea Scout ships. As of today, there are 27 auxiliary-sponsored Sea Scout ships. They involve, I finally got updated numbers a couple of days ago, they involve 450 people. These are 450 people who wouldn't have been coming into contact with the Coast Guard and the auxiliary were it not for this program. Additionally, as of a couple days ago, we have 122 people flagged in AUX Data 2 as being Sea Scout youth or adults. We know that's a very partial number because that flag has just been added to the system in the last couple of months. But this is real membership payoff for us. We're getting something out of this. Okay, so is it possible to be involved with the Sea Scouts without chartering Sea Scout ships? And the answer is yes, absolutely. I think I'm kind of getting ahead of myself that this is in a future slide. Yeah. I've heard from a number of people who are concerned that working with Sea Scouts means that you're going to be working with a group of maybe 6-year-olds who run around like little Cub Scouts and so on. That is not a good description of Sea Scouts. Minimum age is 14. Most of these kids have arrived at a point in their lives where they're pretty responsible for their actions. These are kids who typically are in the top quarter of their class. They are good students. They are responsible. They're not scared off from wearing uniforms or being involved in an advancement program. These are things that we should be able to relate to as auxiliaries. So I know I have heard from at least a couple of auxiliaries who said, my kids are have grown out of the house, and I don't want to have anything more to do with teenagers. And in fairness, maybe they shouldn't have anything to do with teenagers. We want people who want to work with these kids. In my experience, teenagers are very perceptive. If they get the vibe from you that you're being put upon and that you really don't want to be helping them out, they will understand that for what it is, and that is not the message that we want to be communicating. We want to communicate that we are interested in them as people and that we're here to help them to become the best citizens that they can. We know that 35% of Sea Scouts are open to the idea of going into the military as a career. That's much higher than the national average. That doesn't mean that every Sea Scout wants to go in the military. 65% of them are not considering that. But even if we can teach them how to be good boaters when they are young, they don't have a lifetime of experience doing it the wrong way. If we teach them the first time how to do it right, that's how they're going to be. I have former Sea Scouts who are now in their 40s. They continue to be very active boaters. They are very safe, and it's because of that experience that they had learning safe boating in the Sea Scout program. So what's the Coast Guard hoping to achieve? We're hoping that some Sea Scouts will consider Coast Guard careers. We're hoping that some Sea Scouts, their parents and their leaders, will join the auxiliary, and we're definitely finding that's happening. And we're looking for ways to garner more support for the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary and our missions. And these become our friends. And frankly, we need those friends to help get our mission accomplished. What is the auxiliary trying to achieve? Well, of course, we're hoping to promote recreational boating safety to boaters, to younger boaters. We want to have a positive impact on young people in our community. I think of the people who I most admire, and they're the ones who selflessly give their time of themselves to young people to help them be the best that they can. You know, we hear lots of stories in the news about so-and-so has fallen foul of the law. In most cases, it's because they didn't have an adult who was willing and able to spend the time with them to help figure out what made them special and why they were worth the time and the effort. Kids recognize that for what it is. It's an opportunity for us to build positive relationships with young adults, parents, and the Sea Scout leaders that has both public affairs impacts as well as membership impacts. Even the adult leaders in Sea Scouts tend to be younger than most of us. So here's the thing where I said that I was getting ahead of myself. Is it necessary for a flotilla to charter a ship to work with Sea Scouts? And the short answer is no. This picture here shows Sea Scouts from Western North Carolina working with a flotilla in D7. They are learning boat handling skills and so on. This ship was not sponsored by the auxiliary, but these kids were getting a very positive introduction to boating safety and the Coast Guard and the auxiliary. So there are ways to work with the Sea Scouts. It can start with just the stuff we're used to doing. Offering public education courses, doing vessel safety checks, doing joint public affairs booths. And then the sky's the limit for how much you want to do with them. One of the more popular and successful ways that we've done this on an event basis is to hold safety at sea events. And we've been regularly holding them in San Francisco, Baltimore, Galveston, and Lorain, Ohio for a number of years, and some other locations on an occasional basis. This event is intended to give Sea Scouts an opportunity to train in skills and techniques and equipment that they may not have available to them regularly. And incidentally, in your packet is a patch from our virtual Safety at Sea event. Clark is holding one up right now. COVID didn't stop us from holding Safety at Sea in 2020. We, at the last minute, we moved it online, and we had about 250 active participants, and we recorded it, and it's on YouTube, and we've had a lot of impact from that. But it gives the Scouts an opportunity to do damage control wet trainers, helo demos, man overboard drills, exposure suits, and so on. And I can tell you the kids have a great time. They really enjoy it. And one of the things that I'm particularly proud about it, at least as I've seen it in my district, or I mean in my sector, is that while the auxiliary takes the lead in putting on the event, we work very closely with the active duty in Sector Maryland National Capital Region. Our sector commander loves us for this because we've got active duty and auxiliaries working closely together to make this happen. It helps to build esprit de corps between the active duty and the auxiliary. And of course, the fact that it goes over very well and the kids develop a very positive image of the Coast Guard, and it looks really good in the local press. These are all pluses. It's a lot of work to do, but the end result is really worth it. Another possibility would be to have a joint waterfront cleanup day. This is a group of Sea Scouts cleaning up a waterfront, and they did this jointly with a local flotilla. So, you know, we're both involved with marine environmental protection, and it's just a really low-tech way to do things together. So, how to get started? And I picked this picture deliberately. This is my director on the left, and her flotilla charters a Sea Scout ship in San Antonio. So this is one of the Sea Scouts in that ship. To make this work right, you really need to understand how the Coast Guard wants this to run. And to have a good beat on that, there are a couple of things you need to do. One is to read the MOA that we signed with the Boy Scouts of America, and know what we agreed to. Read the SOP. That's BSX's instructions for how specifically they want this to run. And there's an update in the works. Nothing substantive is going to change. We're just going to update some of the terminology. For example, the Boy Scouts of America changed from regions to national service territories in the last year, and that's reflected in the change. Also, AuxData has been updated to better support the AuxScout program, and that's reflected in the new SOP. But nevertheless, download it, read it. If you have questions, your DSO should be able to answer those questions, but if he or she doesn't know the answer, they know that they have a place to go where they can get the information. If all else fails, and I would encourage any of you, if you have questions, to come straight to me, and I'll be happy to answer things for you and help you to know what you need to know so that this will work. The one piece of training that anybody who works with Sea Scouts must take is BSA's Youth Protection Training. This is an hour-and-a-half online course. There is no final exam, so you don't have to study a long time to take it. It's really an easy lift. It's available online. In some places you can get it taught live, face-to-face, but frankly, I just suggest that you go online and take it there. The system, you don't have to be a BSA member to take this training, and we have a commitment from BSA that they will not use your information for anything other than recording your completion. Now, there is no tie-in between the Youth Protection Training System and AuxData. So if one of your members takes this course, they need to save the completion certificate, ideally as a PDF, and then have their flotilla commander send it into DIROX for entry into AuxData. And yes, I know that in a couple of districts, you handle it a different way, but I'm giving you the party line. And if your district handles it a little differently, that's fine with me. The point of this is that this training explains what our responsibilities are for protecting the young people so that there is no child abuse. And, you know, it's there to protect the kids, but it's also to protect us. If you follow the rules, there will be no opportunity for child abuse to take place. Frankly, as a 60-year scouting veteran, I would hate to think that my family would be punished for something that I was doing just trying to help out a kid. Well, I follow the rules that youth protection training cover, and I know that there is no chance that there will be a problem. And the Coast Guard headquarters expects all of us to do that. There are some other courses that you need to take if you're doing specific things with the Sea Scouts. For example, if you're taking Sea Scouts out on a training mission, you need to take the BSA Safety Afloat training because there are some additional rules that BSA has. It's a really easy lift. It's a 30-minute course. There's no final exam there. And I'm pleased to report that AuxData can now accept all of those training courses into the system. So when you complete those training courses, have your flotilla commander send a copy into DIROX, and it will be added to your AuxData record. So the next really important thing is we need to have an active DSO-AS in every district. It's unrealistic. I know that you all are very busy, and if you don't have a DSO-AS, I'm assuming what you're telling me is that you personally want to be doing the work of a DSO-AS because you have that responsibility. My guess is that none of you do want to have that added task because you're kept pretty. I was a DCAP, So I do have some sense of what you're doing. So have a DSO/AS and make sure that that is their primary responsibility, because it's going to keep them pretty busy if they're doing it right. Is there training available? Well, damned right there is. We have a really good wiki that provides a lot of information. We have dozens of workshops that we have recorded. We put on at least 2 workshops a month, one that is focused on how to run the program and what you need to know as an auxiliarist to succeed. The other one that we put on just about every month is a STEM program, which we call Coast Guard Tech Talks. And it teaches stuff that the scouts need to know to advance in their rank advancements. Frankly, my flotilla and a number of other flotillas in our area have been using those Tech Talk recordings as member training for our flotilla meetings. They're generally like half an hour, and they'll cover topics that you need to know. The most recent one that we put on, the speaker was a bosun 4 from Sector Maryland who talked about fire safety on board ship and what you need to do to prevent fire and how to fight fire and so on. And, you know, with his 30+ years of Coast Guard experience, he was a terrific speaker on that topic. I hope we get him to talk about aids to navigation. He is the be-all and end-all on that topic. So we have a YouTube channel with over 75 videos, including one on how to organize a Sea Scout ship. We have speakers available. I have spoken at several of your district conferences in the last 2 years, thanks to our friend Zoom. But if you want to pay to bring me out to one of your live conferences, I'll be happy to come and share the good news to everybody that we have a solution to their problems. Okay, I have a really good youth program staff. A branch chief responsible for each of the areas, but we also have marketing staff, new ship organization, and STEM training that we can provide support for. If you haven't looked at this resource, I really strongly encourage you to do it. The URL is down at the bottom, tinyurl.com/AuxScout map. That map shows you where all of the Coast Guard auxiliary flotillas and Sea Scout ships are in the country. And the blue outlines are council outlines. If you click on the background, you'll get information on how to contact the local Scout Council. The teardrop shaped icons are Sea Scout ships, and the dots are Coast Guard auxiliary flotillas. And it provides contact information for most of them. If there's it should be on your stick as well. Yeah, I put together a handout with all of the URLs from this in a single file that's on your stick. Also, this presentation is on your stick, as well as about a half dozen other PowerPoints. So it's all there. I use this map a lot because it helps me to see where are there flotillas but there are no Sea Scout ships, and where are there Sea Scout ships and no flotillas. There's an opportunity to either start ships where there are flotillas and no ships, or vice versa. You know, if there's a strong Sea Scout ship in an area where there's no auxiliary presence, wouldn't it behoove us to try to find a way to start a new flotilla in that area? It's just something to think about for the future. So why is this important? Coast Guard auxiliary growth has been limited by lack of age diversity, particularly among teenagers and young adults. We don't have nearly enough young people in the program. If you recruit somebody my age, how long are they going to be active? If we're lucky, 10 years. If we recruit a 17-year-old Sea Scout, how long could they be active? Well, it could only be 1 year, or it could be 70 years. We don't know, but if we don't invest today, we're not going to have that opportunity again. And the more we avoid it or overlook it, we're missing an opportunity for growth for us. Working with the Sea Scouts provides the Coast Guard with an opportunity to present Coast Guard service as a potential career path. And the Coast Guard is really serious about this. They're really looking to our help to identify young people who would be good candidates for the Coast Guard. I can tell you that I'm aware of at least 4 Sea Scouts who are Coast Guard Academy cadets currently, and 2 Sea Scouts have already committed to the incoming first-year class for this fall. So, you know, this is tangible results in that regard. We're training safe boaters. We have really good instructors, and we're teaching them how to be instructors, how to be safe boaters. This young lady is a participant at the Safety at Sea event at Curtis Bay Coast Guard Yard. She's learning how to use a flare so that she'll know how to use it when there is an emergency. The time to learn how to use a flare is not during an emergency. By then, it's too late. So we're giving her and her compatriots an opportunity to learn how to do that. This event is run by the sector, Coast Guard auxiliaries, with very active involvement from sector. And so we're teaching young people how to be safe boaters. This is a payoff for us. The photo on the right shows some of the Sea Scouts on last summer's Eagle Cruise. The young lady on the left is a Sea Scout quartermaster from Ship 198 in Delaware, and she has committed to attending the academy in part because she went to AIM Week last summer. So this is a payoff. This photograph is of a Sea Scout joining a flotilla, and she found out about the auxiliary because the auxiliary was supporting her Sea Scout ship. Here's a member that we wouldn't have had that flotilla not been making that investment. This is a payoff for us. Okay, I'm hoping you're ready with the microphone. Okay, here we go.
My name is Hannah Carter, and I'm the Western Region Bosun from Mariner Ship 936. People often ask me how Sea Scouts has changed my life, and I cannot begin to explain to you how much it has changed my life. It has led me to so many opportunities, including friendships, different sorts of programs, and it has influenced me to choose a career path through the Coast Guard Academy or the Naval Academy.
Okay, wouldn't you agree that having a young lady like this in the auxiliary would be a tremendous plus? Thank you, Hannah. I've spoken with Hannah many times. She is an incredible young lady. Anyway, wouldn't your flotilla look so much better if we had a half dozen young ladies like Hannah involved? There's so much that we can get out of this. So what can you do? And here's the bottom line. What can you do? Well, let's see. Before I get to this point, please understand that we won't succeed without your active involvement. Every district needs to have active support and encouragement from the district commodore. Frequently reminding members of the vital importance of supporting the Sea Scouts. This is where I was supposed to click to get to this point. The district must have an active and effective leader as the AuxScout DSO, who receives your regular visible support. We need effective leaders appointed as AuxScout staff officers in every division. Their primary mission is to promote our involvement and support of Sea Scouts at the local level. We must commit to providing Sea Scout support in every division. That can be simply by providing vessel safety checks, public education, public affairs, or training support. It can be by partnering with the local ship, or it can be chartering a new Sea Scout ship. The message I want you to hear is this is not someone else's job. This is all of our jobs. So we have a lot of web resources. This briefing is available at that URL, but a copy of all of the web links are on the stick that's in your folder. So let me just end before we get to the questions by saying I am very proud of being a Coast Guard auxiliarist. I have only been a member for 22 years, which is not nearly as long as I've been involved in scouting, but I strongly believe in what we're doing, and I am strongly committed to helping the Coast Guard Auxiliary succeed. And I strongly believe that getting more younger people involved in our organization will make us a much more effective organization. So that's what I had. Are there questions that you wanted to ask? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so Bruce, thank you for what you're doing and your team. This is great stuff. I support it, but here's what you can do to help me.
Okay.
If you have collected over the course of the program some specific data that tells me how many Sea Scouts have joined the auxiliary, how many Sea Scout parents have joined the auxiliary, how many Sea Scout leaders have joined the auxiliary, then I can take the message back to my leadership with tangible data that says, this could be you too.
And funny you should bring up that point.
Go ahead.
Up until recently, we were not asking people who were joining the auxiliary whether they were Sea Scouts or whether they were involved in AUP. AUX data has been changed so that now we can track that. There's a checkbox in everybody's member record in AUX data. In the very limited time that that's been on board, 122 people have been registered as Sea Scouts. Of those, 47 are 14 to 16-year-old youth, and the rest are 17 years old or older. Now, that isn't a true representation of the number of Sea Scouts in the auxiliary, because we weren't asking anybody that question. And even when it becomes, when those checkboxes are added to the 7101 form, the new member application, that's not going to get us the information about the people who are already auxiliarists who are also Sea Scouts. So we have been telling our DSOASs to poll the membership to try to find out who else is a Sea Scout. But I can tell you with absolute certainty that at least 122 are Sea Scouts who are members of the auxiliary. I can also tell you with certainty that last year, at least 15,600 hours were contributed by Sea Scouts to the Coast Guard Auxiliary. It was probably much more than that, but that's what was recorded in AUX data.
And just to foot stomp that too, so 47, 16 and under.
Correct.
Since 2020.
Right.
And comparatively, the number that we heard, or the comment we heard about recruiting this year, was that we've had, and Pete, Commodore Jensen, correct me if I'm wrong, 312 people since January of this year. So in a little less than 2 years, we've had 50 people, and that's just the under 16-year-olds. And then the next program we're going to talk about, and we'll take a break, don't worry, with AUP, just to get to kind of the punchline, capture your attention and entice you to come back for more steroids. We're bringing on about 50 people over the last 3 months. So about a sixth or so of that 300 or so, and even more with AuxScout. So this is really the future of the auxiliary, in our opinion. Obviously, we're biased, but we would say too, people are joining the auxiliary because of these programs. There are very few other programs where people are joining the auxiliary because of those programs.
And I can,
Please keep collecting that data and advertising, because it allows us to teach our leadership there's a benefit here. We're not just giving you words. Here's our data to support the benefits. And if you aren't coming to the party, you're losing out for your unit.
absolutely.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Clark?
Yeah, I'll use my teacher voice.
Okay.
Two comments. Youth protection. I'm superintendent of a vocational school. I started doing that with all my wannabe teachers. It's just fantastic. Problem is, it expires after 2 years. Didn't get any notice about it, and that continues with my whole comments about I wish AuxScout would kick out some notifications. Already told you about my woe story about I got to redo the closed book navigals, and then I get a notice, but that's on me. So, but great program. Think about if I could do it at a flotilla level in terms of some training and submit the names. Would that also cover it? I guess that's for IS people.
You should be able to. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So Bruce, you give us a number of 15,000 hours. How is that captured in North State?
Anybody who is involved with AuxScout, if you are a registered Sea Scout, then you add an operations code of AUX SCO2. If you are not a registered Sea Scout, but you're doing something for the AuxScout program, you add the operations code AUX SCO1.
Okay, so I don't think all of our people understood that there were those operations codes, because that's why I'm asking the question, and I think we're losing a lot of hours.
I am certain you are right about that. We remind the DSOs, we meet with them quarterly, and we remind them at least quarterly that they need to be doing that. I wish I could tell you that all of them are doing a fabulous job of communicating with everybody. I know some of them are, some of them a little less so. Yes, sir.
I really got three questions, okay? If I understood correctly earlier, because I know that you can enter YPT into AD2. What about the other training? Is that all available now to enter in there, or does it go to the personnel file?
The question is, can the other courses that are required under some circumstances, can it be entered into AUX Data 2? And the answer is yes. It's only been in the last maybe 3 months that that's been possible, and I am fairly certain that the IS officers and DIROX's offices have not been informed of that. It is not for lack of trying on my part to encourage that to happen.
Can I make a suggestion then?
Please do.
Please send that stuff to the DCOs, because I did not ever get it as a DCO. And this is happening in other things that come out of national a lot of times. It goes straight to the DSOs, and that doesn't always mean it gets distributed.
Do I have everybody's permission to do that? Okay. I don't want to do anything behind your back, and I want to help you to be a partner with me. So I will be very happy to. Thank you.
The second question I have, my understanding that we can be, if you're at that level, a level 2, okay, that you can be on one of their ships. My question is, say we wanted to do ATON verifications while we're out on that, can that be done?
Yes.
Okay. And my third thing, which I think is the most important, is how much of this information is getting to the district commanders on the active duty side?
I can't answer that. I don't have authorization to talk directly to district commanders. I think.
Well, we're talking from the active duty side. Are they putting this out to the district commanders? Because I don't think they are.
I don't know.
Because that's one of the hardest things I'm sure everybody in this room is getting this to the point where we can go to the next step. I was alluding to it in the
Right.
first place. I've got some flotillas and now a division that's gonna be at a level 1, but to get to the level 2, you're fighting a command that is not ready to go there.
And incidentally, Commodore, the way D13 does it is not the way any other district does it, but that's a reflection of what your district commander wants. What we found is that some district commanders just inherently understand why this is important and are very supportive, and others are more reserved about that. And I would certainly welcome any opportunity that we might have to help inform them, but that's not for me to initiate.
Yeah, and that's the reason my question is really from the active duty side is what's really going to them, because it's gonna take an active duty to active duty, because I'm working on that, okay? But, you know, we had a change of district command, which that happens, you know, that's a 3-year max
Right.
turnaround. Anyway, those, you've answered the 2 ones, because it was just the other day, I was trying to get this other stuff entered into AB2, and I was told it's not available. And
That's
had
because
I
they
known that,
didn't know.
We don't know. I do ask,
And
we don't know.
this is a point of frustration for me. Some of this functionality has been available for months, and
See,
I've
if
been,
that information is sent to us, we can get it out to our people.
yeah, and we
Okay.
can put it to DIROCs too.
okay, I am getting blanket permission from you to provide this sort of
You
information.
are from me.
Okay,
And this is one of the reasons we wanted to do this is how can we best support you? And so if it's getting stuff directly to you and
To me, it's the old system, and I try to preach it every day, is column, chain of leadership and management.
Right.
Okay? And it's gonna get presented and done quicker doing it that way than it is the other way, because there are some DSOs that don't wanna put it out because that they don't feel they can. So
But then they don't tell us either.
Yeah, so.
I will,
It's being sent to us and it's not.
I will do whatever you want me to do to help you be successful with this.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll help tremendously.
To Tiny's point, you know, it might not be a bad idea if, when you're passing info down to the DSOs, to encourage them to interact with our area sector coordinators to get that information on the table on a weekly or a monthly basis
They
with
have
the
been
sector
told
command.
that.
Okay, well, that's good for us to know that.
As I say, I haven't been in your shoes exactly, but I've come up through the elected chain to the DCAP level, so I do understand what you're having to deal with, and sometimes there's a disconnect with district staff officers that some just see it as, you know, doing administrative stuff.
Right.
But we all are leaders. We all have leadership responsibilities, and one of the most important things that we can do is to communicate effectively. Make sure that all the stakeholders have all the information that they need.
See, Pat's correct on that, because that if you come in, but if it comes to the DCOs, the ASCs in most every district report to the Commodore.
Right.
They're appointed by the Commodore, so it's the quickest route to get it to them and to the IS officer and DIROCs.
Okay.
Okay.
Totally agree. Yes, sir.
Hey, Bruce. The BSA Safety Afloat training, when you have Sea Scouts on board, is that required by every boat crew member or cops
Yes.
only? Every?
Yeah, the SOP reads that if you have regular contact with Sea Scouts, you must take the youth protection training, and regular is defined in the SOP as having contact at least once a year. That's a really broad definition, and that basically means if you are taking Sea Scouts out on a training patrol or whatever, everybody aboard must at least have the youth protection training.
Right, the youth protection for
Right.
all. What about the,
Safety afloat, only one auxiliarist has to have that.
okay, thank you.
Bruce, if a flotilla wants to sponsor a Sea Scout ship, what are the financial obligations?
There's no predefined financial obligation. Usually, the ship itself develops its own funding. It's not unusual for a flotilla to pay the new ship charter fee, basically the membership application for the unit.
How much is that?
I can't tell you that. And the reason why I can't tell you that, you may have heard about these lawsuits going on. Well, BSA has had to increase the registration fees, and it's set by the local council. So that's why I can't answer it. In some cases, it could be as little as $50, or it could be more like $200. It depends. The bottom line is they're recovering insurance costs. That's what they're recovering. Yes, sir.
Last question on that, because that brings the question up, insurance-wise, what are we responsible for if we do create a ship?
All right, I am not the Auxiliaris Chief Counsel, but I'll do my best to repeat what he has to say on this subject. We, as Auxiliaris, are covered for our carrying out assigned missions. That includes working with the Sea Scouts. This is an authorized mission. It's been authorized by Coast Guard headquarters. So we are covered. We have.
If we start a ship, just to get it straight,
Right.
we start a ship, and we have a Sea Scout, and that Sea Scout gets hurt, but we're really not on a mission, is that insurance-wise covered?
The BSA requires that the ship carry insurance for its membership. So
if
it's
we
not.
If we start the ship and it's our ship, are we responsible that that insurance is being carried?
The council will not take the charter application unless they're taking out the insurance that goes with it. So
we do have to make sure there's insurance there.
well, the council will by default make sure of that, because no council wants to be put in the position of having an uninsured scout unit. They just can't afford that. Yes, sir.
If the Sea Scout is an auxiliaries, who's primaries, scouts or the auxiliary?
I don't have an answer for that. I think it really depends on the person. I know that some of the Sea Scouts in our area who are auxiliaries are primarily Sea Scouts, and some of them are primarily auxiliaries.
Depends on what they're doing. I think it depends on the mission.
Right, right. The Sea Scout ship in Washington, D.C., they have chosen a path that's sponsored by the division. They have chosen a path where they're maximizing the involvement with the Coast Guard. And so I think all of them see their